Welcome to the Grit and Grace podcast, where faith, family, and real life leadership meet. I'm your host, Daphne Boyd. Let's dive in. I want to start today by answering a question that I hear from women all the time, and maybe you've asked it too. Why does it feel like no matter how hard I try, it's still not enough? So somewhere along the way, a lot of women were taught that the answer to everything is just try harder. And today I want to talk to you about why that's not actually true. So that lie, that more effort is always the answer, is probably something that I have bought into the majority of my life. As a very type A personality, a classic quote unquote good girl, feeling like I have always had to try harder and do the right things and show up more is something that I was raised to do. Some of that comes naturally. So if you're a woman who is doing all the things, you're showing up, you're praying, you're trying, and then you still feel like you are not where you want to be, you don't have what you want to have, you don't feel fulfilled. Everything in your life could be going right. You're married, you have children, you have a home, you have a job you love, you have friends, and you still feel heavy, right? It still feels heavy. So I want you to relax because we're going to talk about this. So where the lie comes from is hustle culture and motherhood and faith, and all of that together equals pressure. And as a working mom from home, I can attest to the hustle culture. When I first started my agency in 2016, I had a 6-month-old baby that I was still nursing. I had 2 children that I was homeschooling. We were in the middle of a major home renovation and construction, and I don't know why, but decided to start my marketing agency soon after that. Actually, I do know why, but that's another story for another podcast episode. The point is that when I jumped into this, hustle culture was real, although it didn't have a name at that time, or I feel like it didn't have a name at the time. And I realized very quickly that I couldn't keep up. Just with being a mother and that being the main priority in my life, I really couldn't keep up with the whole hustle culture. I really couldn't keep up with these 5 a.m.ers who did not understand what it was like to wake up all night with a nursing baby. These 20-something-year-olds who were at the time just ruling the internet, right? They were creating courses, they were running ads, they were selling all kinds of things. And they were saying, if you want to be successful, if you want to make money for your family from home, then you have to do these things, right? Do what I'm doing. Wake up at 5 a.m., journal, pray, exercise, have your morning coffee, get some breakfast and some protein in you, and then hit the door before the sun ever comes out. If you can beat the sun. I know Grant Cardone is famous for saying that, and I actually do like Grant Cardone, but he's famous for saying that, like he wants to be up and at 'em before the sun ever pops out, like he beat the sun, right? But that type of hustle culture does not really coincide with motherhood. In fact, it actually sabotages it. And I went through a really hard time after I started my agency for about 2 years. And I struggled with some health issues with Epstein-Barr and all this kind of stuff, but I won't go into a lot of that on this episode. But just to say that it really got to me because I felt like as a young mother, I was in my 30s. I was with my 3rd child. I was nursing my 3rd child. I was getting up in the middle of the night to change diapers and nurse a baby and try to get some sleep. And then I was also trying to jumpstart my agency and my business and learn everything I could about web development and SEO and lead generation and digital marketing. And so I was burning the candle at both ends because I felt like I needed to keep up with what I saw other successful men doing. So there's the key there. Not to say that women don't do it too. I think there's a different hustle culture with women. You have the boss moms, the CEO, boss mom type of hustle culture on its own. But for me, I was burning the candle at both ends. And then take into account that I'm also a Christian, and I felt like I was failing God because I could never spend time with him. I wasn't being the mother I felt like I had been in my early, years when I wasn't trying to work from home. And so there was all of this pressure to be something that I wasn't, to perform in a capacity that nobody else could actually accomplish, right? It's not like these men that were super successful and making 6 figures a month were nursing babies all night long, right? They weren't in charge of homeschooling their other children. They weren't responsible for the upkeep of a home or animals. They weren't responsible for getting dinner on the table or even grocery shopping for that matter. And so it's actually not fair for us to compare ourselves to what we see as success in those arenas. So the try harder sneaks in to our psyche in those ways. And it can come even in through Christian spaces. You've got different people in Christian circles telling you to pray more, to fast more, to spend time with God longer. That if you really, really want the life that you are dreaming of, the life that God has for you, you have to work super, super hard to get it. It's not just going to come to you. And so this is confusing to Christian women especially, because we are confusing that obedience, or what we feel like is obedience, with exhaustion. So we're like, we have to work harder. We have to hustle more. We have to pray more. We have to stay up more. We have to burn the candle. It's absolutely required for our success, right? And it's a lie. It's absolutely a lie. So this discipline, this so-called discipline, when really it's not discipline at all, it's actually just going as fast and as hard as we can, it turns into self-punishment. So I want to address that because I really do feel like mothers and Christian women in general experience that on a level that most other people, especially men, do not understand. And I'm not a feminist, so please don't misunderstand me when I say things like that. But the same pressures don't exist on both sexes. They just don't. My husband has so many pressures that I don't have. And I have so many pressures that he doesn't have, right? This is real life. So adding more routines instead of removing pressure isn't actually helping, right? You're like, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll make a routine. I'll time block. I will, start our homeschool at 8 a.m. and that way I can be done by noon, and then I can work on this and I can work on that. And it actually just adds to the pressure because there's no perfect solution for any of that stuff. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I have done this in my homeschool and in my family, and I have created undue pressure on myself, on my children, on my husband, on my house by trying to add more to the plate. And I want to take a moment here and acknowledge the Marys that are listening. And when I say Mary, I'm making the comparison between Mary and Martha. I resonate with Martha so much, and I have always heard Martha preached against or preached badly about, oh, if you want to love Jesus, you'll be more like Mary. And we are told that early on in our relationship with God and in the church and in Christianity in general, that if we want to be good wives, if we want to be good daughters, if we want to be good friends, we're going to just be more like Mary. But then the culture that is around us, not just in the church, but in our society, tells us that in order to be successful, we have to be Martha. And so I feel like if you are naturally a Mary, then that pressure to be Martha is real, right? But I also feel like if you are naturally more like Martha and you're naturally more inclined to be busy and active and a doer, then that pressure to like do nothing, right? Just do nothing and it'll all work out for you. But what we hear and what we see are do more, do more, do more. And it's so confusing, and God is not the author of confusion. So I want to speak to both Mary and Martha in this situation, that all of it is not one over the other, right? God is not telling you to only be Mary or only be Martha. And it's not, oh, it's worldly to be Martha, but it's, it's holy to be Mary. That's not what I'm saying. And I don't feel like that's what Jesus is saying. I think Jesus took these two sisters and he made an example out of, I don't want you working so unnecessarily. When I'm in the room, I want you to spend time with me. That's what I want. That's the invitation that Jesus gives to us, right? And it's so hard for us Marthas to let go and trust that and accept that, because what we've been told our whole lives is do all the things, right? And so we burn out, and then we feel guilty for resting, and then we feel like resting is a weakness. And we are the type of people that do all the right things. And then we start to feel resentful the way Martha was resentful over Mary, right? She was like, Jesus, she's not helping me in the kitchen. So women are completely capable of overburdening ourselves without any exterior voices, right? So I want to pull you in from that, and let's reframe the way that we feel towards that responsibility, towards that undue stress and pressure on us. So more effort isn't always the answer. Discernment is. Faithfulness doesn't mean depletion. I want you to understand that God is not asking you to, stay up all night and pray and fast in order to get what you need from Him. Again, that turns into works of the flesh. So faithfulness doesn't mean depletion. It means just trusting Him. And I know that's so hard. Like, that sounds so cliche. I understand that more than you think, more than you could possibly understand. It's just, just trust God and it'll all work out. Well, God's not washing my dishes. God isn't paying my bills right this minute. God's not sweeping my floors or changing the baby's diaper or, cleaning up this spilled milk. So I get it. I totally get it. But God doesn't require self-abandonment either. So when I say that I want you to know that God is on your side and He is for you. He's not against you. He knows that you have responsibilities. He knows that you have to work. He knows that you've got to get up in the middle of the night with the baby. He knows that you've got deadlines on projects that are due and clients that are waiting on you, a boss that's breathing down your neck. He knows that there are things at home, laundry that needs to get done, dishes that need to get done, kids that need help with homework or that are sick or whatever. God knows that. He's not asking you to leave that and just rest and God will take care of all. That's not what I'm saying either. But He doesn't require self-abandonment. So meaning that you can't ever stop working. That's what I'm saying. Because I feel like we as wives, as friends, we don't allow ourselves that breathing room that God so graciously gives us, right? So sometimes the most faithful thing to do is to stop pushing, stop fighting, stop working. And when I say stop working, there's something inside of you that just tenses, like, you don't understand my life. And that's why I'm saying it, because I do. I do understand, because I do feel that way also. There's so many times where you go, oh, just stop working and it'll be fine. No, you don't understand. There's this separation in our lives as Christian women that come from feeling like we need to do everything for everybody at all times 24/7, and hearing that we just need to stop and let God be God, right? And everything will get taken care of. And you and I both know that's not true. Neither of those extremes is actually true. Okay? And in the middle of that, in the messy middle, in that hot mess middle, is God. And He walks with us in that season. And He really is putting His hand on our shoulder and saying, breathe, slow down. It's okay. Trust me for some things that you can't change and do the things that you can do, right? So this isn't a prescription to, fix your life. This is permission to breathe, to allow yourself to feel, period. Just give yourself that. It's okay to feel pressured. It's okay to feel busy. It's okay to be in a season where you literally do have to do the things, right? But not forget that, one, He's with us through it all, and two, that doesn't solve all the problems. So I'm acknowledging that. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not behind. You don't need to prove anything. And rest is not quitting. So I hope that encouraged you today. If it did, I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for spending this time with me on the Grit and Grace podcast. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to follow the show and share it with another woman who needs it. You can find resources, episodes, and lots more at daphneboyd.com. Until next time, walk with grit and grace.